Hello, and welcome to another ramble. This video is definitely going to be rambly, so if you don't like rambly people, you should probably just not watch this video because I honestly don't really have a template to follow, and I'm just gonna free flow thoughts from my mind. But I was gonna say the first thing that I'm gonna talk about is the saying, there's so many fish in the sea. Have you heard this before? I'm sure you have. I don't know why it came to the forefront of my mind, and I'm like, I want to make a video on that. And then I was also thinking about glaciers, like the glacial effect, how like you can only see this much of the glacier, but then there's like so much more beneath the surface, and how that correlates to people not being able to comprehend us. And then rolling into as above, so below. Anyways, yeah, that's how my mind is, and this is how this video is going to be. So that was a preview, that was a taste. So, like I said, if you're not into that, then you should just click off now. Excuse me. I think my throat chakra is blocked. Anyways, so I've noted that there's like, I don't know, is it 8+ billion people in the world now? Whatever the number is. So, when people are getting out of relationships, or, maybe they've been alone for some time and they haven't successfully been able to find someone, I've noted that most people will follow up with that line. Don't worry, there's a lot of fish in the sea. What do you mean by that, honestly? Because even though you are surrounded by all these peoples, to find somebody who actually is an energetic, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, material match, I think is rare, you know? I also have friends who are bachelors till today, and they've kind of accepted the fact that they are supposed to be alone. And that's the thing. I think we've been kind of like we've been molded and shaped into believing that we're supposed to have a partner. But is that true for all? I mean, if nature is the divine blueprint, look at different species of animals. For instance, the praying mantis, she will mate and then kill her mate. In some species of animals, they are monogamous. In other species of animal, they are polygamous. In other species of animal, they just meet for the primary basis of mating, and then they separate. They separate. You know. So I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that in my constant quest to find the truth among half-truths, my mind tinkers around with ideas in such a way, you know? I've also noted that it seems, even though there's so many people in the world, like I said, it's so hard to find somebody who matches you in such a way that you can create a harmonious foundation and future together, that most people are opting to just be alone. And I think there are benefits to that as well, as you well know. Because when you spend a lot of time alone, you're given opportunities to really get to know yourself and to really um, pursue things that make your spirit come to life. You know, I mean, ideally, well, this is ideally for me. I would love to find a partner who matches me on all levels, and create a beautiful life together. You know, like a collaborative type of like connection. But I've come to accept the fact that if that doesn't happen, that doesn't happen too. It's all about radically accepting the journey that you're on. And then I've also come across like forums where people are heavily disappointed in, you know, having to go through different phases of friendships and nobody's staying by their side. And I struggled with this as well. And I've just come to the conclusion that I feel like everything is seasonal, everything is cyclical, and I think our attachment to things definitely causes suffering. You know, our attachment to wanting things to stay a particular way. But knowing that change is the only thing that is constant, you can't really hold anything in place. All you can do is take a snapshot of it and keep it in your mind for a reference point. But that's it. Everything is always changing. You can't expect people to stay the same. You can't expect things to stay the same because everything is changing. And I remember 10 years ago, my acupuncturist told me that time was speeding up. I might have mentioned this in videos, but at the time I was like, what are you talking about? Time is speeding up. But have you noted that time is speeding up and everything is just whizzing by like so quickly? I mean, they're constantly like updating new phones, new model of phone, new model of car, new model of this, new model of that, you know. Whereas back in the past, you know, it's just like things moved much more slowly. Everything was just speeding up, you know. So now I understand what my acupuncturist was trying to tell me a decade ago. And with that, if you think about it, and I know this has crossed your mind. There's so much things happening in the world today that is just so destructive. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by it's so destructive. Look at like things they put in music currently. You know, on the media, on television, in movies. It's so destructive. Like I remember when I was growing up, there was like Care Bears. We care, you know? And now it's just violence and like sex and just really destructive things. If you were to ask me demonic, it's like the demons have come out to play and they're in your face. Like it's not even like a hidden thing. They're just like out there, you know, and a lot of people are subscribing to it and normalizing it and thinking that's cool. And I'm just like, you know, I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't sit well with my soul. But I've come to the conclusion that it's part of the speeding up and deterioration process. And I was with my friend the other day and we were talking about it because, you know, we're like, man, look at the state of the world. Like, where are we going? You know, most of the children are just glued to their screens and they don't do anything else. They don't know how to go outside anymore. They don't know how to like construct things physically in this reality. It's just like kind of just like stuck in the reality of looking at a screen and being like force fed like other people's like agendas and ideas instead of thinking on their own, right? So my friend was like, what, you know, the state of the world is, it's scary, and you know, I feel sorry for the children, like, you know, I mean, I can go into it. I'm sure you've had similar thoughts or discussions. But I told her that I think it's part of a process. It's part of a cyclical kind of event that needs to occur. You know, kind of like the aging process. When you're born, you're a baby, and then as you go through life and its different seasons and stages and phases, you become an adult and eventually become elderly, and then we pass on, right? I mean, same with the world. I think it's going through the same cycle. Best way to describe it, I guess I can use the analogy of a fruit tree. So when a fruit tree has has heavily rooted itself into the ground, and it's starting to produce leaves and then flowers and then the fruit, like I think when I was growing up, the fruit was there. But as I get older, the fruit is going into the deterioration phase where it rots and eventually it falls to the ground, you know? And then a new cycle begins. I think that's what's happening. So if you are really, really frustrated and can't make peace with why the world is in its current state, that is my analogy to help you understand and hopefully find peace. And it's out of our control, honestly. What else was I going to talk about? Oh, yeah, people not understanding you. I've also come to radically accept the fact that people won't understand me, and I have tried to simplify my dialogue for people. I mean, I think this is simple. This is simple, but for most people I've noted, they just don't understand. They're like, why don't you simplify things? And I'm like, I thought that was simplified. And they're like, no, I still don't understand you. And it just takes me so long to convert ideas into words, that I don't, the simplification process it's complicated for me to simplify it. And I don't know why that is, because that's how I am. That's how I am, But yeah, so the glacial effect. I don't know if there's a term for that. I just made that up in my mind. But if you look at a glacier, a lot of us see the tippy most top of it. And you probably have already seen imagery or like read about things that relate to this, but below the surface there lies like so much more, And I think that's how our mind is. It wants to explore the deeper, darker, unknown regions of particular subject matter in order to understand and come as close to accuracy and truth as possible when understanding it. And I think for me, I don't know about you, I spend a lot of my mental energy trying to unravel these mysteries, and because I've taken that time to do that, I've uncovered information that most people just don't really consider or think about or care to think about, So when you have conversations with them, that's when everything gets lost in translation. And before, like I said, I would get frustrated, but now I've just kind of accepted the fact that, not everybody thinks as deeply, and that's okay. This is something that I find enjoyable, and I'm not going to stop doing it, just because other people can't understand it. This is something I think I'm passionate about, just uncovering truths and things like that, which goes hand in hand with the axiom, as above, so below. So like, if your roots go deep, then you can ascend just as high, But I feel like a lot of people just go like this deep, so they can't really necessarily reach higher levels of consciousness, you know? So it's like as above, so below. So if you can go this deep, then you can access this height. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm making sense. I don't know if anything I say makes sense. um, what else was I going to talk about? Oh, giving people the benefit of the doubt. I think when I was younger, I would always see the best in people. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to see the best in people. It's really nice to see people's potential. And I think it's a gift, you know, because I don't think many people look for the good, you know. I thought that was a normal thing, but it turns out it actually isn't. But so giving people the benefit of the doubt and seeing their potential, this is a beautiful thing. However, you shouldn't discount or bypass what they're showing you currently, because that's where they currently are at. They have possibilities to change, and they might change or they might not change, and that really isn't your responsibility to buy into the potential. What you need to focus on is what they're showing you right now, you know, because that's where their current state of consciousness is at. So if you're thinking in terms of like a relationship, I think it would be very unwise to fall into and chase the potential. I think it would be more wise to see the person as they are, and if possible, to support and influence their success to a degree, you know, because you don't want to allow people to use you as a you don't want people to get a free ride, because you need to recognize that they need to do the work, and you're just on the sidelines allowing them to have a space that they need to grow into the person they could become, and possibly supporting and influencing, but never taking it on. Because I used to take it on all the time, and it was just disastrous, guys. I gave so much of myself to a particular relationship, and it decimated me. It took me like a month or two to recover from it. But in that month or two, I also learned valuable lessons on, you know, where I went wrong and how to self-correct. What else did I want to talk about? Man, there's just so much, you know. I just need to hone in on particular topics that I would like to speak on. Anyways, if you guys have questions, or if you guys have inquiries, let's explore them together. Please write them in the comments and let's talk about them. As far as now, I just feel like my mind's blank, so I'm gonna end it so you don't have to watch minutes of awkward silences and watching me trying to extract some kind of subject matter from my mind. What am I looking for? I'm looking for this remote. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are. Blessings to one and all. Amen.